It's Hispanic Heritage Month, a time for us to recognize and celebrate diverse culture, history, and contributions of Latinos past and present. But what does it actually mean to be Hispanic or Latino? Who do these labels apply to? And why do we celebrate in the middle of September, right? I'm going to help you understand it all. I'm Guad Venegas, NBC News and MSNBC correspondent, and a proud Mexican American. Now, most month-long cultural celebrations start on the 1st, right? So why does Hispanic Heritage Month start on September 15th? It's because a handful of Latin American countries actually celebrate their independence days on September 15th. Plus, Mexico celebrates on the 16th, and then Chile on the 18th. But there wasn't always a whole month to celebrate Latinos or Hispanics. In 1968, Congress passed a law ensuring that presidents would recognize National Hispanic Heritage Week each year. Then 21 years later, President George H.W. Bush became the first president to officially declare it a month-long celebration. Hispanics are the second largest racial or ethnic group in the U.S., with more than 62 million people descending or originally from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Now, you've probably seen the words Hispanic and Latino used interchangeably, but they don't actually mean the same thing. The term Hispanic typically refers to someone whose family came from a Spanish-speaking country, while Latino refers to a person with ancestry in Latin America. And it is, by the way, possible to be both. Brazilians are Latinos, but they're not Hispanic because they speak Portuguese, not Spanish. But then you look at Mexicans, Dominicans, Cubans, and so many others from Latin American countries who are actually both. And this brings me to the term Latinx. Where does this fit into all of this? Well, Spanish is historically a gendered language with masculine and feminine words. For all of us who speak the language, we know what this means, right? Take, for example, the word alto, which is tall in Spanish. For men, it's alto. For women, it's alta. Well, some are trying to do away with that by using gender-inclusive terms. That's where the X comes into Latinx. Now, there is a lot of debate on whether or not to use it to describe other Latinos. Some are even using the gender-neutral term Latine instead of Latinx. A good rule of thumb is to just ask people what they prefer to use to be identified. For me, they all work. Many Latinos like to identify themselves by the country that their families come from, like Mexicans, Mexican American. Others might use more specific identifiers to describe themselves, like Afro-Latino, which some prefer to acknowledge their mixed Black and Latino heritage. Then there's the term Chicano, which was coined by Mexican Americans during the Chicano movement of the 1960s to describe their own unique identity. By the way, I identify as Chicano, Pocho, or Mexican American. They all work. So what does this tell us, right? Hispanics are not one homogeneous group that can be lumped together. Each Latino culture has its own unique set of traditions and its own definition of what it means to be Latino. And we celebrate all of them this month and year-round.